Many thanks for choosing us. Government has announced that it will pump an amount of $2 billion into the economy to curb the continuous depreciation of the city. This forms part of measures by President gov't to mitigate the hardships being experienced by the populace. Amidst the growing depreciation of the city and the recent increments in fuel prices and prices of general goods, the government held a crunch cabinet meeting to find solutions to the raging economic challenges. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, the Jubilee House highlighted 4 measures government has approved during its cabinet meeting to cushion Ghanaians amidst the economic hardships. And you can see that on your screen shortly, talking about cabinet agreeing on border reopening within 2 weeks, government cutting salaries of appointees by up to 30%, policy rate increased substantially to 17%, cost of loans to go up, and government to pump $2 billion to rescue the city. And that's those are measures that were agreed at cabinet. President gov't has actually approved those measures, and the finance minister will be making a presentation ahead of that. Some MPs have been speaking to JoyNews on their expectations.
Huge cost cutting, and it must start from such areas where you have appointees who have no role, no productive role. Everybody who has been appointed who is not playing any productive role must go.
Some expenditure cuts has to happen, and I just don't want to speculate. The free SHS should not be touched. I think government can look at other areas. I don't think free SHS should be touched at all. That is my candid opinion.
He's not coming to Parliament to meet us. He's only coming to make declarations. So how was Parliament consulted? How was the judiciary consulted? How was CSOs consulted? Industry, the financial subsector, labor union.
We should all brace for punitive measures. I heard him saying here that he's going to announce things that will cushion anybody. What cushion are you talking about? If he comes and takes off some of the taxes on petroleum products, that would be good, but don't forget that we are already paying taxes that should be used to cushion us as part of what do you call it, the petroleum price stabilization levy, for instance. So there isn't much he's going to do. We are in a real fix, so we should all brace ourselves, provided the requirements he's bringing will not kill all of us, because already people are suffering. We are told cement is over 60 cedis in part of the country. How do you call it? Fuel, which used to be 4 cedis per liter, is now 10 cedis. I mean, exactly what is he going to say that anybody should be expecting? It's just going to be pain, but we hope that whatever he says, we can all be able to adjust.
Let's go to Parliament now and speak with my colleague, Parker Wilson, who's been monitoring the happenings in Parliament for us. Parker, I'm told that there are 12 questions scheduled to be asked the Finance Minister. Run us through those questions.
Well, actually, you're correct. Today has been designated for the Finance Minister, Kenneth Oyaka, to answer 12 questions from members of Parliament across the divide. That's from the NPP and the NDC. And all these questions, if you look at them carefully, they have a nexus with the economy and how government intend to revive what the minority has called crippling the economy. Now, one of the things that many have raised concerns about is whether or not government intends to return to the IMF. And today, when the Finance Minister finally appears before the House, but I must say that Parliament is yet to start its proceedings, and when they start after the vote and proceedings for yesterday, the Finance Minister will now appear and answer the question. One of the questions for him today is from the Member of Parliament for Sohom, Kojo Asante, and he wants to know whether there are plans by this government to return to the IMF for financial assistance. And it will be clear. Finance Minister will provide clarity as to whether indeed where we've gotten to as a nation, we have to seek financial assistance from the IMF. Or perhaps the measures put in place by this government will cushion the ordinary Ghanaians to the extent that there wouldn't be the need for the assistance from the IMF. Another question is from the Insaiso MP, Dr. Stephen Amoa. Now, he is asking about what the finance minister is doing to reduce the debt stock. And Aisha, you call that the NDC consistently has been criticizing this government, and particularly the finance minister, for over borrowing, which has increased our public debt stock. Now today, the finance minister will tell us specific measures how he intends to reduce the public debt stock. And one of the things that many of the youth are looking for in Ghana today is about employment. And in the 2022 budget, we all know that the government talked about the Ghana Cares program, which is expected to inject about 100 billion for revitalizing the economy and all of that. They want to know what are the plans to raise this 100 billion as far as the economy recovery is concerned, and including the job creation, which government said that they intend to create about 1 million jobs. The Member of Parliament for Instawom Adrejui, Frank Anodomprep, is asking government what he, in fact, this question is from the Doma East MP, Paul Abrekuchum Berima. Now, he's asking government or the finance minister what measures the ministry has put in place to ensure that the creation of 1 million jobs stated in the media budget is achieved. And so issues about job creation, which of course a lot of the Ghanaian youth want to know how they'll get employment, especially our NAPCO brothers who are at their exiting phase of the program, how they get employment. Today, the finance minister will provide another clarity on this matter and let us know what he is doing or how he intends to achieve the creation of 1 million jobs so that every young Ghanaian will have some work to do in this country. So it is clear that the finance minister is a big day for the finance minister in Parliament today. And we are told, my sources within the majority caucus tells me that the finance minister is poised and ready to answer every single question from members of Parliament. And one interesting thing about Parliament is that after the substantive question has been asked, the MPs are given about 2 or 3 opportunities to ask supplementary questions. So it is quite obvious that today, the NDC MPs, I must say, they have, as we say in our local parlance, they are getting ready for the finance minister to bombard him with all the questions that they have in mind and how he intends to recover the economy.
Definitely, Parker. Yesterday when you spoke with a few of them, I mean, both sides were divided. The minority said they were not expecting anything extraordinary from the finance minister. The majority had some level of trust for the finance minister to actually announce measures that would deal with the issues affecting our economy. Has those stance, changed for both sides?
Aisha, it hasn't changed. The two caucuses are still taking their entrenched position, and they have made the point that, in fact, from the NPP side, they believe that there's a glimmer of hope as far as the measures that will be announced by the finance minister is concerned. Because at the cabinet retreat, there were very critical, comprehensive, solid, innovative ideas that were churned out by the members of cabinet. And these are the ideas that the finance minister will put across today. So it is quite obvious that looking at the $2 billion injection into the economy is going to sustain the city. And this clearly will cushion every Ghanaian in the system and, of course, strengthen the Ghanaian city as well, together with other creative measures that will lessen the burden or the hardship of the ordinary Ghanaian. So that has been the position of the majority side here in Parliament, claiming that everything the finance minister will say today will be a plan that will go a long way to ease the burden. But the minority, I must say, they are very, very skeptical. They don't believe in the finance minister. They don't believe in the government. They believe he will certainly go around and talk about the usual rhetoric, blame the situation, the economic mess on COVID-19 and what's happening in Russia and Ukraine over the fuel prices. And they believe that this is clearly not the way to go. Government have to take the pinch by ensuring that it collapse some ministries and also reduce drastically expenditure and corruption. So with this, they're just waiting for him. They say at the end of the day, they'll be vindicated because the finance minister won't come and say anything new. It is the old thing that he will tell Parliament. So we are waiting since they have taken their entrenched position. Let's see how it goes when he appears before the House.
So exactly what time is the minister expected to brief the House?
Aisha, as of yesterday, we were told that Parliament will start proceedings at 10 a.m., which is the usual time for proceedings. But then, as I speak to you now, Parliament is yet to start its proceedings, and the minister was expected to be in the House shortly after prayers and shortly after the correction of votes and proceedings for yesterday. And so we were expecting that by 10:30 a.m., the minister would have been in the House to answer some questions. But as we speak, since Parliament itself is yet to kickstart with proceedings, we don't know what time he will appear. But definitely when he does, we'll bring all our viewers the update on what he'll be telling members of Parliament this morning.
Kwesi Wilson is our man in Parliament. We'll definitely bring you updates on the minister's briefing in our subsequent bulletins.